Well, you look around at the workplace, and suddenly, not as much gray hair. A lot more, well, purple hair. It's a little weird. Joel Patterson is a workplace expert. He's the head of the Vested Group in Plano, which specializes in NetSuite implementation, and it's consistently listed as one of the best places to work. And Joel, we're seeing a real dynamic shift that seems to be skipping Gen X and millennials, as Gen Z are now the biggest cohort of workers, outpacing now the baby boomers. What should those other two generations think about that?
Well, we're not quite there yet. So what we're saying is that Gen Z is overtaking boomers in the workforce, but Generation X and millennials will still have the lead for now. But what it really demonstrates is a shift from, like you said, from gray hair to maybe purple hair. But recognizing that there's more 20-year-olds in the workplace these days than there are 60-year-olds requires a shift from a business perspective too, right? I mean, how you manage them, how you motivate them is a challenging thing that everybody's got to confront these days. Can you kind of expand on that, Joel? Because I hear about that all the time, and I hear about different communication models. So boomers, maybe they want to do face-to-face, whereas Gen X, maybe an email, millennial will send a text, and a Gen Z will send a Snapchat with an emoji. Yeah, and I think that the important thing there is that everybody's different, and recognizing that you've got to be able to approach these situations with a little bit of individualism to it, right? And recognizing, okay, I want to communicate with them this way, but more importantly, you've also got to recognize what motivates them. Gen Z is really challenging a lot of the expectations that we've had as employees of any company for a lot of years. I'm 51 years old, so I've been in the workforce for a long time, and it's really, in my world, it's become, all right, well, this is the way we've always done it, so let's continue to do it that way because it's worked. But Gen Z looks at this thing and says, you know what, I don't really want to do that anymore. I've seen enough stories on TikTok, and I've seen enough people complain about how difficult it is to manage people. I don't really want to do that. And so you've got to find different ways to motivate them and explain why that role might create some passion or some motivation for them, and providing a little bit of intentionality when you talk to them, and recognize that, hey, I'm going to talk to you a little bit differently. I'm going to listen to you. I want to understand what motivates you, and then respond accordingly. See, that doesn't seem like it's a generational issue. That seems like everyone wants to be heard when they have something to say. It sounds like you're just respecting your coworkers and your employees. You know, I think a lot of it is that. I mean, we get really, especially in the business world, we get wrapped up in saying, oh, well, this group I don't like them. I don't get them. I don't want to deal with them. But here's the reality. This is really important, especially for people that have been managing people for a while. You've got to be able to recognize that the problem might be with you. You can't just recognize. You can't look at it and say, well, I did it this way, so they have to do it as well. You've got to be able to dig in and recognize that's just not going to motivate them anymore. Treat them with respect. Yeah, you're not going to be able to relate to them. I mean, that's reality. I mean, that's what people are complaining about. But it doesn't change the fact that they can do a good job, and they can do what they need to do in order to earn a living and to support the organization in the way that it needs to be supported. Joel Patterson is a workplace expert. He's the head of the Vested Group in Plano. They specialize in NetSuite implementation, but more importantly, they're one of the best places to work, consistently rated as such. Joel, as you're talking about how this is the way we've always done it, I'm reminded of new management that came in one time at a radio station I was working at, and he says, I never want to hear the words because that's the way we've always done it. And there was a little bit of me that was resentful at the time. And by the way, I have tremendous respect for this programmer that I worked with, because he wanted to change the culture, like you're talking about. He said, we're going to change it. We're going to figure out a way to do things best. But sometimes there's a reason we do things a certain way and have for so long, and that is because it is the best way. So is there a way that we can seriously examine the way that we do things and determine whether or not it is the best, but also be comfortable if it is, in fact, the best, that we don't change it? Yeah, I think that's fair. When you're looking at how the business runs, you know, if it's worked great. But you're bringing in new personalities. You're bringing in different perspectives on how to live your life. And one isn't wrong and one isn't right. It's kind of like the work-life balance concept. I've always kind of struggled with that because I feel like it makes it seem like one is good and the other is bad. And that's not really what it's about. It's recognizing that you have to be able to survive both. And there's going to be some integration between the two. But you've got to really be able to just say, hey, this is new, it's different, and I've got to get on board. It's not like everything is wrong that we've ever done, for sure. But there's nuance, right? You round the edges a little bit, and let's see where we can improve.
Yeah, great point. Life is full of nuance, and frankly, I think we're terrible at recognizing nuance, Joel, so I'm glad that we have people like you to bring it to our attention.
Well, every now and then, blind squirrel, right? But hey, one thing I'll close on that with Gen Zs that I think is really important is making sure that you do have things that are going to motivate them. It's not a ping pong table. I mean, yeah, that's great, but it's really these days it's about, hey, do you have a mission? Do you have a purpose within your organization that they can get on board with? They really want control over the path of their career, and a lot of times that's going to be driven by how much the work that they do inspires them, how much the company, gives back. Those things are really important to that generation, and it's good for everybody, but it's something to be aware of.
Love that. Joel Patterson, workplace expert. Joel, good to have you on the program. I appreciate you. I'm going to put you on the nice list of guests that we have, okay?
It's a pleasure. Appreciate that.
You avoided the naughty list. Well done.